welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura, and this week on the show we're going to talk all about power hours and why I think it's a good idea to have a power hour offer in your coaching business. But we're also going to talk about where sometimes coaches can go wrong with power hours and just some things to consider around how to set your power hour up so that it really works for you and your business. So first of all, what is a power hour? Now, usually a power hour is fairly straightforward. It's where people can buy an hour of your time and they can use that for anything. Basically, they can pick your brains, they can talk to you about anything. And actually, like, offering a power hour just like that, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. And I think sometimes people will slag them off for all sorts of different reasons. But to be fair, and I am going to go into some of the reasons why it's not ideal to run them like this, but just offering that is fine if that's what you want to do. But we're going to talk about some of the nuances in this as well as we go through. Another thing to bear in mind is that a power hour doesn't have to just be an hour. It can be longer than an hour. It can be shorter than an hour. You can tag on other things as well. And we'll talk a bit about what that might potentially look like for you as well as we go through. So a few of the reasons why I think power hours are awesome and why I think they're a really useful offer to have in your coaching business is for lots of different reasons. First of all, I think especially if you're a coach who is business to consumer, I think I've talked about this in recent episodes. If you're a health or a life coach and you're working with the general public, people out there who don't know the workings of a coaching business, like what someone who went business to business is, I think power hours can be really great as a first step for people who perhaps don't really understand what coaching is, how it can help them. So it offers a really great entry point into coaching and also as a result of that potentially working with you in a bigger package. So I think it can work really well that way. Another reason why having a power hour can be a good idea is because they're very contained, or they certainly can be. And I think sometimes I feel that the best way to offer them is as this quite contained offer. There's not a lot of prep for the call and there's not necessarily a lot of work after. Obviously it depends on how you want to set it up, but if you like to just get in there and work with people in that little unit of time without a lot of the stuff that goes on around the call, like the note taking, the having to send follow-up stuff, the prep, then a power hour can work really well for you from that point of view. I quite like doing that with my clarity calls and I'm always quite supportive, so if there's a bit of stuff that comes after that, I will offer that and I will help. But if you really value the idea of just being able to just offer this unit of time with very little else around it, then a power hour can be a good option from that point of view as well. I also feel like power hours can be fantastic for market research. I did an episode of the show recently on market research and I'll link to that where I talk a bit more about that. But a power hour can be a great way to gain more market research and to understand a bit more about your clients, your ideal clients, and what it is that they want support with and all of that, which I cover in that episode. But also really great if you want to pivot. So if you're exploring perhaps pivoting your message, pivoting what it is that you do, pivoting some of your bigger offers and services, then offering something as a power hour can be a really great way to dip your toe in the water and to see how people respond and how people react and what stuff comes up in the calls as well. So that can be really great too. But overall, I just think a power hour is it's a nice service to give people. Like I say, it really can work very well when it comes to getting people into your bigger packages if you have the strategy around it, which is quite important, or else it's going to just not necessarily work the way that you want it to work. So where do coaches go wrong with offering power hours? Now, before I get into this, I just want to say I don't necessarily think there's any version of wrong here, because I'm all about experimenting in business and trying things out and finding what works for you. And there's always going to be exceptions to these rules. However, I do think there's a few things that can be useful to consider if you are going to offer a power hour style offer. So the first one is to just as offering them in a very generic way. And the problem with that is if you just literally say, here's a power hour, it's £150, $150, here it is. That's fine and you can absolutely do that. But for a lot of people, it's so general, it makes it really difficult to sell. It makes it really difficult to create compelling sales copy and compelling sales content around that call because it's so generic. Also, if you're not particularly well known in what it is that you do, so if you're a newer coach, then it might be that you have real difficulty. Do your audience, do they really grasp your expertise enough? And do they really buy into that enough at this stage in your business to be like, yes, I'm going to book a power hour with this person, I'm going to pick the brains? I think that actually like more generic power hours can be a useful offer to have, certainly once your business is coming on. I've got a clarity call, which is fairly generic. It is pretty much a book the call and chat to me about whatever you want. And that's a 90-minute call. So you can book that. And like I say, just talk to me about whatever. And it's that specific bit of time, and that can be fine. But also, if you are a slightly newer coach, then it's more difficult to really sell that, because when people are buying a clarity call with me, they know who I am really well, they know my expertise, they've got a sense of what it is that they can ask me, what I can support them with. So I think that my clarity call works well in that sense. And like I say, if you are a coach who's a bit further on, I don't think there's anything wrong with offering that. And also it can be quite handy. You're going to get people come to you wanting to pick your brains, and it's really helpful to have that call there and can be like, yeah, you can book this and you can ask any questions you want. So alongside offering these quite generic power hours, certainly when you're in the early stages of your business, another kind of mistake I see people make is they call their power hours a power hour. Now, it doesn't sound like that should be a mistake, but I think the problem is when we don't give our power hour offer a really enticing name. Again, even if you do have quite a specific remit for that call, it just sounds generic, and it's not as likely to catch people's attention. Again, a lot of this depends on like where the offer is situated in your business, how you're using it. But if you're wanting to use your power hour to feed people into bigger packages, if you're a newish coach, if you don't have an abundance of people coming to you for coaching and this is about getting more clients, then I really feel like not calling it a power hour and perhaps giving it a much more enticing name. Like, it is a power hour in essence, but you don't have to call it that. You can call it a fix your family meal plan in 60 minutes call. You can call it a sleep SOS call. I had a client who called one of her calls a sleep SOS call. Give it like a catchy name, and that will, when it comes to market it will make it so much easier, and it will catch people's eye much more than just saying power hour, because for a lot of people that's going to be a kind of meaningless term. Again, like I say, there's no right or wrong necessarily here, so some people will really relate a lot to the whole concept of a power hour, and it is something that you can experiment in with your business. But in my experience, I feel like giving them a more specific catchy name is better than just calling it a power hour. But in my experience, I think it's better to give them a more specific name than just power hour. Another kind of mistake that I see coaches make is they don't link their power hour into their other packages, services, and they don't really have strategy going on around it that makes it work. Because let's face it, if you are just offering power hours, and depending on how much you're charging for them, it's unlikely that you're going to make a whole lot of money sustainably just from your power hour services. And really, you want your power hour to have some strategic meaning in your business. Often people run these as loss leaders, which is something that I cover in Priceless Power Hours, which I'm going to talk about towards the end, because that is literally my course on how to do all of this if you want to find out more. So if you don't link it into the rest of what you've got going on, in their own right, they're not going to do a lot for your business. So it's really important that you have the strategy around them to make them make sense, or else they can just be like a drag on your time and not actually make you a whole lot of money, and actually be really difficult to market without some of those other things around them as well. Your pricing, like, that needs to link in to your overall strategy, to your other products and services. And there's a whole thing around pricing. And sometimes I find coaches really struggle to know what to price it at. And again, there is a lot of experimentation with that and finding something that works for you. And sometimes, like, I've offered really cheap one-to-one power hour style calls before because I just wanted to offer them and I just wanted to do something fun, and sometimes that is actually totally fine. Like, you don't have to have the price and police saying, well, you're undercharging for that. It's absolutely fine. Like, you can decide your price. But I think where people struggle is they just don't really know what to do with the price, and then it just doesn't properly link into the rest of the strategy that they need to have around the call to make it work for them. So what do we need to think about when we want to create a really strong power hour style offer in our business? There's a few things I think that it's going to make it really easy, and a lot of it is the opposite to what I've just said. So we want to give the power hour a very specific remit and a very specific purpose, a very specific outcome. So we want people to know what it is that they're signing up for, that they're going to work on this specific area of work, that they're going to get this specific outcome, and that is going to make it a much more sellable offer in your business. So we want to give it like that specific remit, and alongside that we want to give it a good name. We want to give it something that sounds enticing, that sounds really interesting, that is going to appeal to the people who you want to book into it, and make sure that it just sounds really cool and that people are actually intrigued by it rather than just calling it a power hour. And then we also want to make sure that it is linked into a strategy that makes sense for your business. That strategy can just be to have as much fun as you want, and that's totally fine as well. But like with everything, I think in business, it's really useful to know that you've had a bit of a thought out process behind everything. I think that can be really useful. So do think about that and what all of that stuff around it looks like, and obviously the pricing is going to come into that as well, but just make sure that it fits in with some kind of strategic meaning around your business and your other packages. And like I say, that strategic meaning might just be, this sounds like a really fun thing to do and I'm going to offer this fun thing and make a little bit of money, and that might be totally fine as well. So you don't have to necessarily overthink it, but it is useful to have done some thought around it. So like I said, there is absolutely a place in your business to have a generic power hour if that's what you want. I do tend to think that it works best for people who are more established in their businesses. Like I say, I've got a clarity call offer. I'll put a link in case anyone is interested in that, but I have a clarity call offer that is very generic. And again, it sits there. All sorts of different people have booked into that for different reasons, but I do think it works better when people get a sense of like, when they already know you, they've been in your world for a little while, they know what kind of questions they're going to get good answers from, they know what you're about. I think that's when they tend to work best. But if you're a newer coach, I think going the more specific strategic route is really the way to go. And as I've said before, I cover all of this in my program Priceless Power Hours. Now if you are interested in it, it is going to be part of Elizabeth Goddard's Christmas party. So that is going live on the 8th of December. In the paid goodie bag, you'll get access to Priceless Power Hours. So if you are interested in it, make sure that you're on my list first and then check out that Christmas party, because there's going to be so many like amazing things in that. I'm really excited about it. This is the third year that I would have taken part in it. So it's like a massive bundle. It's awesome. There's going to be so many things that you can get your hands on. So do look out for that. It's going to be in there. But in Priceless Power Hours, we cover the entire strategy around how to set these calls up, all of the tech bits and stuff as well that you need to consider. Like we cover the whole lot. So if that's something that you want to delve into, look out for that program. It's really awesome and it's getting some fantastic results for a lot of my clients who have put this into practice and who have sold out all their places, who have booked clients into their bigger packages. So it works really well. Like with everything in business, it's a really fun thing to experiment with and to see what happens. That's all we can ever do in business. I honestly think the more that I do this, I think the more, all we can ever do is try things out and see what happens. Anyway, that's going to be in the paid goodie bag in Elizabeth Goddard's Christmas party. Like I say, that starts on the 10th of December. If you are interested in that, do look out for it. So yeah, I'd love to know if that's been helpful, if you perhaps thinking about offering a power hour style call, if that's been useful and you thinking about how to offer it and how to put it together. Do let me know. Obviously we're coming up to January, which might be a really good time to launch and offer something like this. So yes, do let me know if that has prompted you into creating something. I'd love to see that. That'd be awesome. And do check out Priceless Power Hours. Like I say, you can just buy it off my website right now, or wait on to the Christmas party and you can get it in that bundle as well. So hope that's been useful, everybody. A quick reminder that the episode of the Wholehearted Business Show that comes out on Monday the 12th of December is going to be a 2023 planning session. So I'm going to record it as a session that you can keep and have your own like planning day where you sit down and listen to that and use the journal prompts. There's also going to be a workbook that comes with it. So it's basically my gift to you for this year, this free planning session that you can do at any time, because it's obviously going to be on the podcast and on YouTube, and you can work through that as you want. I've just scheduled in my 2023 planning day. So I really love to I do this whole thing where I book a day off in my calendar and I get some nice snacks and things in. I get some nice candles. I get like a big notebook, a big planner. I get my tarot cards and things out, and I really just sit down and channel what it is that I want for next year. And I do like a vision board, and it's just a beautiful day. And I look forward to it every single December, and I can't wait to do it. And the last couple of years, I think it's been disturbed because I've had kids coming home from school sick and all sorts of stuff, and obviously with COVID and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to it this year. I can't wait. So that episode that goes live on the 12th of December will be something that you can use if you want to do your own planning day. You can just pop that on and listen to it, go through the workbook, watch it on YouTube. And it will hopefully be really helpful for you planning for your life and business going into 2023. So I will let you guys go. Have an awesome week, whatever it is that you're doing. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.